Welcome to week 7 of Winter Wellbeing. Today, we're going to talk about listening to understand. As we prepare for the presidential inauguration this week, it's an important time for us to think about the way that we relate to one another, particularly when we disagree. 45% of Democrats and 35% of Republicans say that they would be unhappy if their child married someone of the other political party. Statistics like these show the extent of our political divide. But at the same time, Americans want unity. Almost 90% of Americans, no matter their party affiliation, think that their presidential candidate, if elected, should address concerns of all Americans, even if it means disappointing some of their supporters. Each of us can do our part in mending the political divide and moving our nation towards political discourse that is respectful, graceful, and generous. We can do that by listening to understand, rather than just trying to be heard. Oftentimes when we're listening, we're thinking about how we want to respond, how we want to counter their argument, rather than actually hearing the other person out. Listening is really an undervalued skill. In our society, we spend so much time and energy trying to be more articulate, more persuasive, more charismatic. But in each of our lives, research suggests that we actually spend much more time listening than we do talking. But we don't spend enough time thinking about how to listen well and how to understand others, even those with whom we disagree. People who are better listeners have greater empathy and compassion, and they're better at resolving conflict. Right now, we need to double down on listening to each other. Taking someone's perspective doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. Rather, it's about doing your best to understand where they're coming from. It's always a challenge to fully understand another person's perspective, but making an attempt is the first step. You don't have to agree in order to understand. You don't have to change your vote or your political affiliation in order to listen. But the hope is that each of us can move past you're wrong and I'm right, and that by listening, we can see new perspectives, understand our common ground, and envision a future where our ideals can coexist. This week, at least once, I would like for each of us to seek out a point of view that is different from our own. You can talk to someone you know you disagree with. You can seek out a reputable news article or podcast that leans in a different political direction. Most of us have political views that are much more nuanced than either Democrat or Republican. But those labels tend to box us in to certain ways of thinking. So as you're having the conversation or reading the article or listening to the podcast, put aside that political affiliation. Take off your team's jersey for a moment and listen with the intention of understanding. Focus all of your attention with the sole aim of trying to understand the other perspective. As you're listening, you'll naturally form judgments and responses and arguments in your head. When that happens, just try to notice them, let them go, and get back to listening. If you do that just once this week, I think you will have made the world a better place. That's it for this week. I'll leave you with this quote by the Dalai Lama. When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. I'll see you next week for our final week together. We'll talk about expressing gratitude. Thanks for watching.